Hey there, Munchie Mafia. Tonight we are making a super versatile and super easy recipe, and it is empanadas. So let's get to it. Okay, so first off, what we're going to do is we're going to start on our dough. And I actually had to consult with one of my colleagues to make sure that I had an authentic dough. So thank you, Gil. First off, what we're going to start off with is a 1 cup measure. And we're going to get 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Now, there's a lot of recipes online, and when it comes to dough, you want to make sure that you're actually making the right one, because a lot of the ones that I saw online, because I can't find my original recipe, so I had to call Gil, is that they're basically giving you nothing but a regular pie crust recipe. A lot of these websites. So you have to really be very careful with where you're sourcing your recipes from. Choose ones that are already tried and tested. Food Network is one of the ones that I generally go to, but when I went onto their website to look for empanada dough recipe, the only thing that I got was just buy the frozen pucks out of the grocery store, which is fine and dandy if you want to do that. They're usually in the freezer section, but a lot of the times they sit in the freezer section for a really long period of time before anybody buys them, especially if you're in an area where there's not a lot of culture around, and they get freezer burned. And the way you tell if they're freezer burned is that they will have like this crispy edge all around the edge, all around, very thin. And the only thing you could do is just stamp it out, and that's kind of annoying. And they're expensive considering how cheap it actually is to make from scratch, but we understand that not everybody wants to do that. So it's okay if you use the frozen ones. The brand is Goya. You're better off going to the Mexican grocery store to get them, because that's where you're going to find them, where they're the freshest. And it's just how it is, unfortunately. Like, regular grocery stores are going to they're going to have ones that might have sat there for a while. So also look at the expiration date. All right, so we're going to get a half of a teaspoon of baking powder. Now there's this little squared off spot in the hole of a baking powder container. That's a scraper. So you just want to make sure that you've scraped it, because you want level. You don't want to put too damned much in there, or you could have a problem. Your stuff is going to get too poofy. All right, I like to add a little something to mine. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. And this is ancho chili powder that my former sous chef Raul picked up for me while he was off on a vacation to Texas. So put as little or as much as you want. You can also use paprika or cayenne pepper or whichever, or just not at all. But I like the way that the color, it adds a little bit of color to it. All right, so we're gonna want some salt. So give it a pretty decent sprinkle of salt because you don't want your dough to taste like nothing, right? Okay, so there we have that. Now we're gonna just mixy this part. Make sure it's all combined. What I like to do is I like to make a well in the middle of it, okay? Just gonna make a little well in the middle of it after we get it all stirred up. So just kind of make a well. It's kind of like making pasta, but we're not making pasta. Today's empanadas. And now that we've got that, we are going to want one egg, one large egg. So just crack that baby into a bowl. Give it a whiskey. Doesn't have to be perfect, just a little bit of a whiskey. Okay. We're going to drop that in the middle of the crater that we made in the bowl. Okay. Now, just going to set all of our garbage aside for the moment. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 ounces of cold butter, and we're going to cut them into little knobs. These are little tiny little chunks. It's just easier to mix. You could definitely put more butter in there because what'll happen is, as it bakes, the water, the liquid content of butter will start to create steam, and it will react with the flour and the fat, and it will actually make it more poofy. Okay, so this is just a dough mixer. You know, if you have dexterity issues, like hand problems or wrist problems, you can definitely use a food processor. I'm not going to judge you for that, because we know that there's just some people that, don't enjoy these types of tasks anymore for reasons, as I stated, dexterity issues. They might have hand problems, finger problems, like trigger finger or arthritis, whatever, carpal tunnel, tendonitis. So they don't get to have the joy of doing any kind of baking. So yes, you can use a food processor, but pulse it, just pulse. Don't just turn it on and just, unless you have a dough setting on yours. I don't think I have a dough setting on mine. I think mine only has like pulse and on. Okay. So just keep mixing it until it resembles some crumbs. Just like so. I probably should have used the food processor, but I feel like being a little masochistic today. So, okay, there. So now we got some crumbs. It's crumbly. It's not overly mixed. And now we're going to make another crater again. And then we're going to take a 1/4 cup. Now you can use water if you want. I prefer to use milk. So 1/4 cup of milk. Okay. And now we're just going to mixy. And this takes a little bit of time when you're doing it by hand. And it's okay. It doesn't look like it's gonna, pull together. And you're like, why is it not pulling together? Well, it takes a little bit of time because we got to get it to get happy with one another. Anytime you introduce a foreign ingredient to another foreign ingredient, sometimes they want to fight. especially if it's a dry ingredient with a wet ingredient. They're like, nah, I don't know what to do. I'm not feeling it. So you kind of have to make them. It's kind of like having two kids in a car and you're going on a road trip. You know how they are. They're like, at some point you're hating life and you're screaming at your kids because they're fighting, and you almost want to, do what your parents might have done long ago with you and your sibling by handcuffing you together to force you guys to behave. So you kind of have to, make it submit a little bit. So now we're just going to go in and we're just going to help it along a little bit more, because at some point that dough cutter just doesn't work very well, at least in my opinion. Plus, I'm not a very patient person when it comes to this. I want instant gratification. So the other things that we're going to be making with this is a little bit of salsa. So I got some fresh on the vine tomatoes. They're in my little pan here. I'm going to stick it in the oven here pretty soon. Let them get nice and toasty in the oven so that they soften up quite a bit. And we're going to put it in the blender and add some other stuff. And then we're going to make some guacamole, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to clean off my my hand mixer here that we used for the dough cutter. We're going to use that to make a nice little guacamole. It's not a super fancy one, but yeah, it's for dipping for these empanadas. I got two different kinds of cheese. I got the cotija and medium cheddar cheese shredded. I like to use a little bit of both, but if you don't like cheese or you can't eat dairy, don't put the milk in this, for one. And number two, you don't have to put cheese in it. That's the beauty of empanadas, is that you can put virtually anything in it. And you're probably going to hear me say that a whole lot of times. All right, so this is feeling a little bit on the stiff side. It might be because the air is very dry in the house. So we're going to just give it just a little smidge more of some water, because I already have some water sitting over here. So a little smidge of water, because we want it to bind together and hold firm into a ball. And sometimes, depending on the humidity of your room where you are preparing this, can adversely affect whatever product that you're making, especially if it has a lot of sugar involved. If you're doing sugar work like peanut brittle or divinity or something like that, rainy, cold days don't work out too well with that. So let's just see how we're doing. Doing pretty decent. Just give it a little splash more. What we want it to do is start to form a ball and to be pliable. And pliable meaning that it's soft and you can like grab it and like that and squeeze it, and it looks nice and pretty instead of looking like it's really, really torn up. You could also put some avocado oil in here if you don't want to use butter. Definitely do that. Now, I've never used egg substitute in this, so I can't tell you either way if that would work. So if you're allergic to eggs, you might want to just stick with just a very basic pie crust. Or give it a whirl. Try some of that Just Egg. It comes in a little pint bottle, like an old-fashioned milk bottle. Most grocery stores carry it. It's actually quite good. I really can't tell the difference between that and real egg, to be honest. The aside from the fact that you don't have that beautiful yolk in the middle when you're doing an over easy egg. You just can't do over easy with that. You're stuck with scramble or using it as a substitute. Okay, so now we've got this going on. Now everything's holding together. See how it's holding together? It wants to be a ball. It's saying, okay, I give up. I'm going to scream out my safe word. I give up. So there we have it. So we probably added about 3 tablespoons of water, which is fine. Sometimes these recipes just don't take into consideration, what your current weather conditions are going to be like. It's one of the things that I was teaching to the guys at the jail, the inmates at the jail, was, how to effectively read what your dough is going to do based on the current weather conditions. So it's like first thing in the morning, they would come into the office. So is it raining outside? Because they didn't have any way to get outside. They had a courtyard, but the walls were like 20, 25, 30 feet tall, and with a cage on the top, chain link fence. So they couldn't really tell if it was raining or cold or hot or anything like that. Okay, there we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and break it into 2 balls. It's going to be a lot easier to work with, but you see how nice and brilliant that color is? It's going to look really gorgeous. It's going to add some character to it. So that's why I said, put a little bit of something in it, whether it's paprika or cayenne or combination. You can even put some cumin in there if you wanted. And one of the things I failed to find at the grocery store was Mexican oregano, which is very important. It's not like regular Italian oregano. It's got a totally different flavor. It's a bit sweeter. The leaves are also more tender. It's easier to work with, and it doesn't really have too much of a spicy back end to the flavor. Okay, so now we got 2 of these. Let's clean up our mess here, because what we're going to do is we're now going to give these a wrap as 2 pucks, and then we are going to put them in the fridge and allow them to rest and commingle together so they can have a little bit more relaxation. It's kind of like if you were going to go to one of those Arctic spas where you won't throw yourself into a lake that's got like 5 inches of ice on the top, and then go jump in a hot tub, and then go back to the cold, and then back to the hot again. All right, there we go. Flatten it out, roll it up. All right, got that. And now what we're going to do is, while we're waiting for that for an hour, we're going to put these in the oven and let them do their thing for a little while. And we will be right back. So first off, what we're going to do is we're going to make our empanada filling. Now, empanadas can have just about any filling that you want. You could put cheese in there with vegetables, or cream cheese and peppers of various types. You can put in chicken, pork, seafood, beef, whichever. But we're going to do just a very basic beef. So what I have here is 93% lean ground beef. You can go for the leaner one, but kind of need a little bit of that fat to give it flavor. So just drain it afterwards. But this is an awful lot of meat, but I'm cooking for a week, or at least a few days, because we're anticipating snow. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to plop this into our pot. You only need about a pound Depends on how many empanadas you plan to make. But there's only 2 of us, and so I'm probably only going to make about a dozen. So what we're going to do is let this get nice and happy, and then we're going to pop back over here to look and see what else we have. So we're going to have tri-bean blend if you prefer. You don't have to put it in there, but it helps to extend your filling. You can add more beans if you want, or you can just add just beans if you want. But the nice thing about it is, because of the prices of meat these days, it's like $9 a pound for hamburger. It's just a little freaking ridiculous. You could definitely bulk it out by putting more things into it, like beans, squashes, sweet potato, things that are less costly. And then also fire roasted super sweet corn. That also helps to bulk it out more, to get more bang for your buck, you know. These days it's expensive to cook for families. Now you can make your own seasoning, or you could just use taco seasoning. I'm just going to use just basic taco seasoning, because it's just all mixed together, and I already had these in my pantry, and they're due to expire very soon, like as in 12 days from now. And then in my box here, I've got a whole bunch of things. Don't worry about the egg. This is for the egg wash for the empanada dough when we go to seal it, and also the butter is for brushing. So we have our white onions, red bell pepper, jalapeno pepper, cilantro, and we're going to be adding a little bit of this and a little bit of that into the pan. But also, I ran out of smoked garlic, so we're going with minced garlic paste. This is a Gourmet Garden. You see me using this a lot. I really like it a lot because all I have to do is just squeeze out however much I need, and I could just put it in the freezer. And when I need it again, I could just pull it straight out of the freezer. It squeezes out really easy, even frozen. But if it's a little hard for you to squeeze it out, you just let it sit out for about a half hour, and it'll be just fine. So you save money that way, because sometimes you may not always get around to cooking. Real life stuff happens, so you do what you got to do. Um, but for right now, it's like I'm out of smoked garlic. So let's go back over here. We got some sizzling going on in the pan. We want to get that Maillard reaction to happen with this beef. And for those that are just tuning into this channel, Maillard reaction is the chemical reaction to proteins when heat is applied. It turns it a nice golden brown, and it makes it more delicious. And sometimes what you'll notice is you'll get this stuff built up in the bottom of your pot after you've browned it, and that is known as the fond. The way to release that back into the food is to deglaze with a liquid of your choice. If you are a non-alcoholic household, for whatever reason, you could just use water, or you could put in some chicken stock, beef stock, vegetable stock, whatever kind of stock you want. Since this is more of a Spanish dish, we're probably going to go with a red. So I'm actually going to get my bottle of Tarima Hill, which is a Spanish wine. It's Monastrell. It's a nice red wine. So empanadas, everybody seems to think that they're actually Mexican, when actually they were brought to Mexico and to other countries by way of Spain while they were sailing around and doing all their tomfoolery and trying to take over countries and islands. But where the Spaniards got it from, or actually the Moors, so peninsula of Iberia, the Moors had brought it to Spain. And we see various different variations to the empanada in various different cultures all over the world as a result of the Spaniards cruising around all over the place looking for lands to conquer. One of those is samosas. Then there's also calzones. We're also inspired by this. And also other dishes. The Cornish pasty could also fall into this category. Just about any kind of hand pie. And of course, Australians have their own meat pies. So this would be more like a mince. And they're delicious. So you can actually put anything you want in yours. You don't have to do it exactly the way that I do it. It's whatever you got in your fridge. We've been seeing some that have tuna, canned tuna. That's been gussied up with some other ingredients here and there and here and there. And then, folded over into a hand pie. And of course, for the vegans and vegetarians, you can definitely do other kinds of things, like the vegetarian meat substitutes. Mushrooms are also really good. And you can either have it with or without cheese. The cheese that we're going to be using in our empanadas is cotija, and it's a white cheese. It's delicious, although traditionally it was manchego that was used. But cheese is optional. Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't have to have cheese. And this is not a Mexican dish originally. Every culture has adapted it to their own tastes. So nobody can really lay claim to this except for the Moors. And so we're just going to let this get happy for a bit. Eventually, we're going to add the seasoning mix. We're going to grab my box of goodies and all the other ingredients that we're going to add to this. Now, if you're only going to make like a dozen like I am, you can definitely repurpose the rest of this into tacos or nachos, whatever you want. You can even make like a enchilada casserole with this as well. So you're not just stuck to that. So if your dough just isn't working for you, and you're like, oh man, I screwed something up, I'm out of flour, what do I do next? Hey, stop. Definitely, repurpose it to something else. Will you stop? What is she barking at? What are they barking at? My goodness. Sorry. Dogs are on the loose today. They're being extra. Okay. So our meat is like halfway there. So now we're going to add our onion. We're going to add just one bundle and a partial. Now, if you don't like onions, you don't have to put them in there. So I'm going to use some of that onion elsewhere in a salsa. And we got a brunoise of red bell pepper because I really like to add a lot of color to my food. And we also have a little bit of jalapeno. These are also brunoise. Take the seeds out. And now we're just going to mixy. and let all this all finish up. And then we're going to add the remainder of our ingredients. That's going to be the beans and the fire roasted corn. Forgot to get some water because you always have to add just a little smidge of water to taco seasoning mix to rehydrate the dehydrated stuff that they put in it. So let me get some water here real quick. It's such a long walk to the sink. Okay. Set that aside. Now, if you want to do like shredded chicken or pulled pork, you can definitely do that. But also, did you know that you can also make empanadas as a dessert? You can do applesauce, and I would put some cinnamon and nutmeg in there, and just a little bit of sugar into your applesauce. Just depends on how much sweetness you like. You can also put passion fruit, guava, papaya, mango, along with meat if you want, or just the fruits. And you can make yourself a nice little fruit pie. You can also get a little bit of custard, and you can put some custard down in it, or cream cheese, some lightly sweetened cream cheese with your fruit, or even just some fried apples that's been fried, and add some brown sugar to it, and then deglaze the pan with some bourbon or rum, whichever you prefer. And you can make a apple empanada or apple turnover. And it's kind of where it came from, but um, as you can see, the dough is just a little bit different from pie crust, but it's kind of the same. All right, so now we've got color on our meat. And we're going to add the taco seasoning mix. And this is about 3.5 pounds of ground beef. It seemed weird that the smaller packages were $1 more, but they were offering them as a buy one, get one, but you're paying $1 less a pound if you bought the 3-pound family pack. So always check your pricing, because if you look at your cost per pound, sometimes it's more economical to buy the larger packs, especially when it comes to hamburger, because whatever you don't use, you can always stick it into a freezer Ziploc bag and just pitch it in the freezer, use it for another time, or just cook it all off all at the same time. There is quite a bit of liquid at the bottom of this pan, so we might not have to add water to it. Turn the fan on here. No, we had a power outage the other day, so my fan is on number 1. All right, we have that. Is it really 5:30? Okay, now that that's all done, we're going to add the beans. You can add more beans if you want, or just totally omit them. But as you can see, if you add more, even more, you can just really bulk this dish out, so you can get a lot more meals out of it. And of course, fire roasted corn, and I can't get the bean bag open. Get the scissors here. And some people, they can't eat corn for whatever reason, whether it's an allergy or you might have like stomach issues. You don't have to put the corn in there. I like it, even though I don't like the look of it when it's in the toilet. But it adds a little bit more color to this dish. A little bit of cilantro, not a lot, just a little bit. Okay. And then that's ready to rock and roll. Now all we have to do is just let it cool. Maybe a little bit more cilantro, just another pinch. Another pinch. Another pinch will do it. There we go. There we go. Now we got some color. Look at that color. That color is just gorgeous. All right. Well, Munchie Mafia, we're going to just let this get happy and rest for a little bit before we start to assemble our empanadas. So we will be right back. All right, so we are back, and it's been an hour. Our tomatoes are out. We just want to cook it until they soften up and you get a crackle. This is a 1 gallon Ziploc bag. We're actually going to take this bag apart, and there's a method to my madness. Sometimes if you have a countertop that gets a little sticky, instead of adding a whole bunch of flour that you have to clean up, what you could do is just take a Ziploc bag and cut the top part, the zipper part off, and cut down the sides, so you end up with this really nice plastic bookend, right? Since these are food safe bags, this is a great option. Or if you got one of those cool pie crust things that you can usually find on QVC, but they're a pain in the ass because you have to wash it. Those ones are reusable. This, if you don't make these a lot, it's not a big whoop. So we're going to take one of our pucks and we're going to open it up, and we're going to take our dough cutter. This is bringing back not so fond memories of the jail. This is what we used for knives in the jail. So it depends on how big or how small you want these. You're going to cut the dough. Whoops. Kind of screwed that up, didn't I? You're going to cut the dough into pieces. And then you're going to take it and you're going to roll it into a ball. Just like so. You're going to want to cover up your other dough, okay? Cover it up. So keep your plastic wrap. Now, I've got all sorts of dough cutters. What'll happen is, if you take a look there, half of that is going to be the size of what your empanada is going to become. So I always use the largest ones because it's like, these are supposed to be like, just a few bites, maybe 1 bite, maybe 2 bites. They're really good for appetizers for game day. So if you're looking for some game day ideas, this is a great one. Because if you're taking them over to a friend's house or something like that, to go and watch the big game, then all you have to do is just pop them in the oven a second time and just let them do their thing until they're nice and warm. And it doesn't take very long. So you're going to want to pre-bake them first before you take them over to your friend's house. So the thickness is going to be, just about paper thin. You don't want to go too thin because they have a tendency to break. Now, you just take your pastry cutter, lay it down, give it a little twist, but don't be too forceful or else you'll cut right through your Ziploc baggie that you've got. Then you'll have to start all over again, and that would mean that I would have to go to the store because I'm down to 1 baggie left. Okay, so just set that one aside. Stick it back under the plastic wrap. Okay, so now you got that. And we're just going to give it another one last roll, both directions. 1, 2. Okay. And this is a French rolling pin. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to get our filling. It's in a baggie. You're not going to have to put a lot of filling into them. Okay. Let me get all my stuff cleaned off here. I got too much stuff going on, not enough space. I don't need those at the moment. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get a spoon. You're going to get a pretty decent spoonful of your filling, whatever filling you want. Could be vegetarian, could be something fruity, whichever. And we're going to put that right there. That's about a spoonful. Now we're going to take our cotija cheese and we're going to then just break off a little smidge of it. Now, if you want, you can break off all of it all at once, or just give it a little smidge, just like so. Probably should have broken it up beforehand, but you know, I am a little discombobulated today. So I'm going to take some cheese. Now, there's a little bit of controversy behind this. It's what kind of got me in trouble at my former job, is that I asked the founder, do you want them baked or do you want them fried? Well, I've never had them baked before. Looking at me like it's not a thing. Well, you know what? It really is a thing. I've seen them baked. I've seen them fried. It just depends on how you want to go about it. So, had just a little too much there. So, now we just take it and we just fold it over. And then we're going to kind of stuff the filling back underneath so that there's a little bit of room to press down. Oops, this one's cracking. That's okay. And then you can just go in and you could just pinch the creases just like so, just to give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of eye appeal. Or you could just use a fork. It's up to you. A lot of people use forks. I like to make them kind of look a little roughly around the edge. So just pinch and pinch and pinch. And then you just put it down onto your surface there that you're going to bake on. I use silpats. I'm a firm believer in the use of silpats. It extends the life of your pans, for one. Number two, in the event that you have a problem and a burn, silpats are so much easier to clean off. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the next one. Give it a roll one direction. Might have to pick up your Ziploc a little bit. Roll it another direction. It's okay if it's not perfect the first time around. Now, if you have an actual larger cutter, by all means, go ahead and use that. I just don't know where my 6-inch cutter went, or my 8-inch cutter, because you can make them as big or as little as you want. These ones are going to be bite-sized, like two bites. All right, so there's that one next. Looks nice and pretty, don't it? Okay, so let's go and we're going to stamp this one out very gently. So our snowstorm that we were supposed to have had last night at 10 o'clock at night didn't happen. I woke up for no damn good reason at 6:30 in the morning with a leg cramp. Went outside. No snow. Sad panda. Sad panda. I was really hoping to be able to go out into the world and take you on a tour of our historic downtown area, but that didn't happen. Okay. There we go. There we have that. Now we're going to get a spoonful. Now, I don't know about you, but I can eat at least a dozen of these damn things very easily. A little bit of cotija. A little bit of cheese. And if you don't want the cheese, you don't have to. You can, however, make some really good jalapeno popper empanadas by just taking a roasted jalapeno pepper, fill it full of cream cheese, spiced up cream cheese, jack it up with some extra spice and flavors, and then roll this around it or stick it in there and just, do as I'm doing, like a little empanada pie. And those are good too. Especially if you don't like deep fried things, you can definitely do that. There we go. Just like so. Pinchy, pinchy, pinchy. And that's going to make sure that it's sealed and they don't break open. Now, when you're deep frying them, they have a tendency to have blowouts if you don't pinch that up good enough. This one might be a little too much. Let's see here. Roll in a ball. Oh, cover up the dough. Roll in a ball. Set it down. Flatten it out. Doesn't have to be a perfect disc because we're stamping it. Now, if you don't have any pastry cutters, what you could do is, if you did put beans in this, like canned beans, you could take the top and the bottom off, but cut it sideways. Use a can opener so it's sideways. I know that there's several times when I've shown people how to properly use a can opener, and it's mostly to take a dig at Derek of the Food Boat. He was having problems with the can opener on a live stream, and I was waiting for him to cut his finger off, but he didn't. So you can use that can by cutting the bottom and the top off. All right, twisty, twisty, twisty. Now this is also a really great thing if you have tiled surface for your countertops. This way you don't have to worry so much about it getting, the dough getting into the grout and having to sit there with the toothbrush and, deal with all that nonsense. If you have like one of the older kitchens, or if you have like the old style Formica where it's got a little bit of a texture to it and all your stuff sticks to it. It's really kind of annoying. All right. Give it one last whack. Whackety whack. Go this direction. Oh, stop it. You just came in from outside. She's like, I know it's snowing out there. It's not. It was trying to. Pitiful attempt. And yet again, I think the 900 number psychics from back in the day. What was her name? Miss Cleo or whatever her name was. I think she was more accurate than our weather service. So we didn't get any snow. We saw some snow, and it dusted just very briefly, and then the rain came and washed it all away, which is also pretty common around here. We'll get 6 inches of snow and then go back out about 4 hours later, and it's like, oh, no snow. It's all gone. We generally get our good snowfall in March, with the exception of the one time that we had that really bad ice storm, and I think that was actually in mid-February. Shut everything down for days.
Stop it. No.
All right. Pinchy, pinchy, pinchy. Now you can definitely egg wash these if you want. I'm not going to because I kind of like the rustic aesthetic to it instead of it looking laminated. All right. There we have that one. Now we're going to go on to the next one. Cover up our dough so it doesn't dry out. It's really important. All right. Flatten it down. Cover it up. And go for the next one. Just go. Doo-doo-doo. These are going to bake about 20 minutes. We're going to check them in 20 minutes and see how they're doing. The dough is very thin, so and they're not all that huge, so they're not going to take as long. The bigger they are, the more full they are, the more time they're going to need.
You haven't circle cut that.
Oh, I didn't circle cut it. You're right. Thank you, Timmy. But what if you can roll it out to a perfect circle? You're lucky, because I can't do that. Doing this for a long time and still can't roll things to a perfect circle. Unless you start out as a perfect circle, like this, or reasonably so. Sometimes I end up with some really goofy ass shape. It's like, what the hell? Now, the reason why I have a preference to this kind of rolling pin is that it's just so much easier for me, anyway. Never put your rolling pins in the dishwasher. If you have to wash them by hand and only with water. So it's best to not put anything with your rolling pin that you would not want on there permanently, because it does ruin the finish. Unless you want to have to re-oil it, but you have to get food grade mineral oil for that sort of thing. They'll crack, and then next thing you know, it's like, they're a lawn ornament for repurposing. Okay, so I'm just going to break off a little bit of this. This is taking too long. So this is in case you didn't know, cotija is a queso fresco. It's soft. It has a very mellow, very, very mellow flavor to it. Manchego is typically what's used as cheese in these. But again, that's if they actually have cheese in them. So yeah, it just depends on what you want to do. Now, one of my other favorite ones is doing like a bacon and tomato and avocado filled, kind of like a BLT of sorts, but without the L, because the L will just turn into a limpy mess. Okay, so there we have that. Now we're going to just go pinchy, pinchy, pinchy. It's easier to pinch it closed in your hands. You can egg wash the edges to get them to stick better if you want. It just depends. If I'm using the frozen Goya ones, I usually egg wash those to help with the seams, because sometimes they just don't pinch together closed properly. The other alternative is to just use a fork, and maybe I'll get a fork and I'll show you the difference. So you've got this nice scalloped edge on this one, for example, right? Scalloped edge. We'll just set that one aside. I'll go get a fork and I'll show you what the difference is. So it just depends on your preference. If you're in a hurry and you just don't want to spend a lot of time on it and you don't really care what they look like, just as long as they taste great, use a fork. It's up to you. Plus, a lot of people don't have a lot of patience for this sort of thing, and that's okay. Put in as much work as you want. Okay, so I'll show you what it looks like with a fork. So now we're going to roly, roly, roly. Roly, roly, roly. Lift that up so there's no No weird wrinkles in it. All right. Now, it's right there. Lost it there for a second. So the reason why we roll it twice is after we stamped it, and we're going to make sure that it is the proper thickness. Sometimes, depending on how you put your pressure on your rolling pin, it can be a little thick in the middle. So, all right. 1, 2. Now we open it up. Also figure out, where you want the edge to be. So, spoonful. And this has got the black beans or the mixed tricolor beans and the corn in it, by the way. Make it however way you want. You can even do plantains, banana. Okay, so now we got it folded in half. We're going to start the process of getting that shaped and trained and pulled over the filling. Now we're going to take the fork and we're going to just press. And sometimes you have to scoop the stuff back in because maybe you might have put just a little too damn much in there. It happens. You know what? Poo-poo occurs. Just do your best. Sometimes I overfill things and have to go in and fight with it a little bit. And it's like, welcome to the Thunderdome, bitches. Okay. Go. And there we have that. And when you're making Cornish pasties, this is very much similar to Cornish pasties, except for that you put the meat and potatoes and turnip and carrot and onion in it raw, and they're much bigger. They're handheld sized because of the miners. What they did was they would wrap it up in a towel and stick it in their back pocket. Okay, so this is what doing it with a fork looks like compared to crimping and pinching to make those little scalloped edge. So it's up to you how you want to do it. I've seen them either way. There's no right or wrong way. The only wrong way is to not eat them and share them, because these are definitely a conversation starter when you take them to game night, big game. Or taking them to birthday parties or retirement parties at work, or just taking them to your coworkers, going to a friend's house and they're having a potluck. And definitely kids can definitely join in on this fun. This could be a fun interactive thing for all the family members to do. They can make their own if they want. And if you want to make some other colors, you can definitely use beet juice or spinach juice instead of the milk to do green and red, and use golden beets for yellow. So I'm going to be doing something for one of the Spanish themed holidays. You can definitely follow those colors or use other foods that have other colors. Blueberry does not turn out blue, turns kind of grayish green color. So don't try to put blueberry juice in there. It just doesn't work out. I've tried and then got upset because there was this really horrible looking color. All right, roly, roly, roly. One more time. Let's go this way. So we got 5 so far. And I cooked off a lot of meat. I cooked off a lot of meat on purpose because there's some other things that I want to do with this that I think you might be interested in. So, of course, you can use it for tacos. You know, just make yourself some tacos with it. Just shred up some lettuce and tomato and dice up some onion and cheese and sour cream and what have you. This is an awful lot of meat. This will last 2 of us for about 5 days. But I'm sure that we're probably going to eat all of these empanadas tonight. They're just so grubbin'. I love them. So there's a bonus to this video, and there's going to be some easy to make guacamole to pair up with these, and we're also going to do a quick and sleazy salsa. Quick and sleazy. All right, so now pinchy, 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 pushy, pushy, pushy. Just force those together. Say, hey, look, stick together, would you? You guys are going to make beautiful things together if you just cooperate. We're just going to go through and just do the rest with a fork. All right. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they're pretty filling. Once when you get like, you know, a bunch of them together, they're pretty filling. You can also make yourself up some black or some refried beans and some rice. Make it into a meal. These are also freezable. What I would suggest you do is you put them in the freezer, flat, single layered, on a lined cookie sheet. Put it in the freezer. Wait till they're thoroughly frozen, and then transfer them to a Ziploc bag. So you could definitely make a whole bunch of them, and especially if you've got kids that can actually do this part of the task, which is really tedious. You just line up your kids at your island, your kitchen island, if you've got one, and give them a baggie, give them each a rolling pin, and say, do your worst. Have them roll them all out in advance and just put little pieces of wax paper in between so they don't dry out. Then when they're all done with all the dough, then they just bring them to you and say, here you go, mom or dad or auntie or uncle or grandma, grandpa, whoever, babysitter, or hey you. And then that way, all you have to do is just go and fill them. And they could also definitely help with that too. They could just go in and have them wash their hands because kids are sticky and gross sometimes. Have them wash their hands and definitely help. You know, one of the things in Filipino culture is that everybody learns how to cook. Men, women, they all know how to cook. Culture is very food centric. There's a lot of celebrations and traditions that revolve around food. Somebody dies, there's food. Somebody's birthday, there's food. Anniversaries, there's food. You know, bunch of holidays, always food. And it's not just families. It could be like whole barrios getting together and celebrating together. It's always a celebration. There's always cause for celebration in the Philippines. That's what I've always loved about my culture. I mean, even if it's not a potluck, somebody's showing up with food. You could be going to a restaurant and your wedding day, and it's like you've got an auntie that's bringing food, bringing copious amounts of lumpia or uh, whatever. Pretty funny. It's always sat out at the table at the buffet spread that you got going on, or with the dessert table. There's a sticky rice cake. That's certainly a favorite. Pain in the ass to make. I'm not very good at it. My dad was great at it. I wish I would have watched him more when he made that. I was just too busy stuffing my face with sticky rice cake. God, that stuff was so good. But like I said before, this is not traditionally a Mexican dish. It's been adapted to Mexican flavors. It's brought around the world by the Spaniards, but they also can't lay claim to this, only by way of transportation around the world via ship. Actually, the Moors of Iberia that created this. Every culture's got some version of it based on their like and dislikes. All right. I'm just gonna stick that right there. That's a little dimple. Roll it out a couple times. And then you can see the bag is starting to wrinkle more and more. You end up with wrinkles, but it's okay. You just do your best. So, my challenge to you, it's not a Tide Pod challenge or anything like that. My challenge to you is create your own. Create your own with your own flavors. Make it as twisted as you want. Use your imagination and take a picture, send it to my email, munchiemafiaofficial@gmail.com. Now I'm collecting pictures. Your picture could be up on one of our previews for our next live or next video. Of course, you'll get credit for it. So please include your screen name. And if you have a channel, put the @ Put your @ on there on the picture. Just go in with a photo editor and put the @ on there. Like mine for this channel is @ChefCivvy. Off Topic Squirrel is @OffTopicSquirrel. That sort of @. Every channel has one. And we'll pop you up. Tell me what was in it. And or if you want, make something, post it on your channel as a short and tag @ChefCivvy. Definitely make a short out of it. Let me see what you come up with. Encourage everybody to try making things. Whatever I'm making, give it a whirl. It could either end badly or be real tasty. So I'm actually going to save the other half of this dough. Make some more at another time, but I'm going to show you what. See, I got 5 and 3, so I need 2 more. So I'm going to make 2 more. So Timmy has 5 and I've got 5. And if we're still hungry afterwards, we can just pop some of the meat into a tortilla and make ourselves a taco. I do have that. So, and this is like the leftover remains. So it's gonna look a little squizzy, and it might not cooperate with you as much, but it's okay. Just go for it. Can't really overwork it too much because, you know, just clean up the edge. And you don't have to clean up the edge, but it makes it look prettier. Gives a little finesse. Okay. There's that one. Now we're gonna just give it another whirly twirly with the roly thingy, roly. So for those that didn't catch the off-topic squirrel last night, had a job interview yesterday. It went very well. I've got a second job interview with the regional culinary director on Tuesday, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have more information at another time, tell you all the details, and just do a live just on that, probably over on Squirrel, just to keep things tidy. Try to keep all the non-cooking things off of this channel. Some people really like the cooking part, but sometimes they don't like all the cooking part. They just want to hear me talk because they want to make fun of me. And that's okay. Make fun of me all you want, as long as you're watching. All right. This one got away from me a little bit. That's okay. We'll make it work. By golly, you're going to work. Work it, baby. All right. Philly, crimpy. Cussy. Close it, damn it. Ya whore. All right. Go. Crimpy. There you go. Just like so. Yes, there's a piece of cheese hanging out. It's got its tongue hanging out. Looks a little evil. That's okay. All right. One last one. And then we're going to pop them in the oven for about 20 minutes. We're going to check them in 20 minutes. But in the meantime, we're going to, while that's doing its thing, we're going to pop the blender up, or not the blender, the food processor up here, or over here. It's behind me, behind the wheel of misfortune. And we're going to make ourselves a little bit of quick and sleazy salsa. It's not authentic, but then again, I just making something quick and easy. I'll show you how we do that in just a moment here. And we also have some quick and easy guac. Very simple, just a few ingredients. Some people are going to be like, that's not guac. All right, fine. Avocado puree. And yes, that was my parrot. I don't know if you heard that. But he's over there clucking like a chicken. Buck. Come on, do it. I guess he's not going to do it. He usually mimics me when I buck like a chicken. Oh, there he goes. Buck. No, he's not going to return it. He's being defiant. Parrots are perpetual 2-year-old children. They create a lot of feather dust, make a lot of noise. They poop a lot. They're very destructive. They can't be left alone, especially ones that wander or like to fly around the house. Can't leave them about. Fun fact about parrots is if they drink out of the water bowl, it's possible that you could kill them. So if you do have a parrot that likes to wander around the house, put away the water dish, because dog saliva can be potentially toxic to them. All right, so that's enough of that public service announcement. We're at our last one Get in there, you. Oh my God. These things are so annoying. But they're super simple. I haven't cried yet, anyway. And you can make them too. Yes, you can. Because I have faith in you. I believe in you. I'm a believer. All right. Alrighty, that one's not as pretty, but that'll work. Okay. Good enough for government work, right? Right. Okay. So I'm going to put a pause on this for just a moment, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we got the empanadas in the oven, and I'm taking care of these tomatoes real quick. These are fresh tomatoes off the vine, or as fresh as they possibly can be. We're in the middle of winter. It's not a seasonal product here. What I like to do is I like to keep them on the vine. Now, when it comes to tomatoes, all you basically have to do is just let them cool for a few moments, and the skins just peel off nice and easy. And if you miss some, that's okay. It's not going to kill you. Or will it? No, it won't. You can also do tomatillos, or a combination of tomatoes and tomatillos. Or if you want, you can just buy a jar of freaking salsa. Not going to judge you. It's whatever you can afford, right? Grocery prices are really high right now. I understand that. I got to tell you to go buy organic this, organic that, and free range this and free range that, and so on and so forth. You buy what you can afford in order to get food on the table for your families. And sometimes that might mean that you have to buy jar salsa. And that's okay. There's no judgment here. We don't judge. It's a judgment-free zone. The only thing I judge is myself. So I'm just going to peel these all up real quick. And like I said, if you miss some, you miss some. Don't spend too much time on it. Then we're going to plop it into a food processor. Now, if you don't have a food processor, what you can do is you can just take a potato masher, or just put it into a baggie and then crush it up with your hands. It's perfectly all right. So we're almost done here with this. We'll just continue to use this as a garbage bowl. It's about as good as it's going to get. So these are nice. There's always a little bit of tomato water at the bottom. So just add that tomato water to it. Just plop it right on in there. All right. So there we have that. Minced garlic. Give it a whiz, like a tablespoon maybe. If you prefer to use fresh, that's fine too. Little dash of smoked paprika. A little bit of New Mexico chili or cayenne, whatever it is that you got, or chili powder if you want. You can use whatever colored chili powder you got. There's dark, there's light. Just use what you want. A little bit of cumin. Cumin or cumin? Cumin. I've heard it both ways. Okay, some cilantro. Not a lot, just enough to give it a little bit of color to it, right? And then however much or however little jalapeno pepper that you want. If you are not a spicy person, don't add it all. Or use bell pepper. If you want the color, but you don't want the spice, it's all right. All right, so we're not going to add the onion to it because we don't want it all pureed. So now we're going to just hit the button until it's just so. We're going to take some salt. We're going to add some salt to it. You can always add, but you can't subtract, right? So pulse. It smells good. All right, and let's see here. I like to just add just a splash of apple cider vinegar. Just a little tiny splash, just a little tiny little, like a few drops, right? Because we're also going to put some lime juice in there. So where did I put my limes? They're underneath the bowl. So I got 2 limes here, but we're not going to use both of them. We're just going to use half of one because we don't really have a lot in here, okay? So now we're just going to pop the top. Just going to give it the juice of half of a lime. Just like so. Tilty, 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 dumpy, dumpy, dumpy. Just set it right there for right now. Then we're going to take our onion. I got white onion and I got red onion. I prefer to use red onion because I'm a colorful person. I like a lot of color in my food. Actually, I want a little bit of the white too, just to break it up a little bit. Give it that sharpness. All right, pop the lid back on. Pulse, 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 pulse. And that should have combined everything. And we got it all combined. So now we got a nice salsa here. We're going to give it a tasty taste just to see how it tastes. It's missing something. A little bit more salt. Because we don't want it too overpowering, right? Because there's already a whole bunch of flavors. There's a flavor bomb inside those empanadas. We just want this as a complimentary dipping sauce, so to speak. Pulsey, pulsey, pulsey. 3, 4. There we go. And that should do that. Now, before I break another food processor, which I did on, I think, my first or second live. Oh, that's right. We got to pop that over. Then that will come off. There we go. Grab my cleaning towel. Got a little bit of stuff on that. Okay. Pick this up and put it away before I break it, because I cannot find another one of these. Timmy actually had to buy that off of eBay used, and we just needed just the bowl part, but they sent it, or just the motor part. No, it was just the lid part that I needed, but they sent the whole damn thing, and it blew up, or I blew it up on our second live, I believe it was, and sure enough, I already had the base because they sent me a whole one. Nicotija. Oh, delicious. I love that cheese. All right, nexty next. Little bowl. Juice of the other half of the lime, because we need some acid. Now, when it comes to guacamole, simple is better. Simple is way better. But you also want to keep in mind that you want some flavor to it, because avocados in general are just a blank canvas. Now, these ones have been sitting for a couple days, and they're reasonably soft. They're not too horribly soft. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to kitchen accidents, one of the common kitchen accidents is what's known as avocado hand. Never do this. Never do that. Okay? That's how people end up in the emergency room with a cut in the palm of their hand. Okay? Or they'll hold this to take the pit out, go all the way through it. And that's no bueno, man. No bueno. So just tap it lightly. All right. Now we're going to take a spoon We're just going to run it through. Scoop it out. We're going to put it right into this lime juice because we're going to want to work really quickly with this because avocados do oxidize. It's one of the things I like about smoking avocados is that they don't oxidize as quickly after you've smoked them, which I guess you could probably do the same, get the same effect by putting them in the oven. Sprinkle some tahini on there, call it a day. All right, so we do want to add a little bit of onion to it, and I used up all the cilantro, but that's okay. Now we just take a fork and we're going to mash it and we're going to mix it so that all that beautiful acid is in there, but also sprinkle copious amounts of salt on there, okay? Oh, you don't want that. If you have a mortar and pestle, you can definitely use that, which is more traditional. I like to have mine a little on the chunky side. I don't like it absolutely creamy, like you see at a lot of stores that have it in a baggie. We were watching Kitchen Nightmares, one of Gordon Ramsay's shows, and he was at some restaurant, and it was a vegan restaurant, and the chef was serving out a little bit of cumin, serving out guacamole out of a bag, thinking that he was going to be able to pass that off. Well, you know what? The stuff that they have in a bag, they put so much stuff in there that it alters the taste of it because you got to put a lot of preservative in it, keep it from turning green or turning brown and gray and black, all the different colors of the rainbow other than green. So now the other way to prevent this from turning funky colors is you scrape it all down into the bottom, layer it out, and then pour some avocado oil until there's like a very thin layer of avocado oil on the top, and then you just mix it in when you're getting ready to serve. Or other people say, "Oh, just take the pit and stick it in there and then wrap it up." You could do that too. I don't think it works as effectively. Or got a nice flavor. It's got some nice tang from that lime juice. But we are going to take a little piece of plastic wrap because we got 3 minutes left. I'm going to tidy up this so we could put it all together. So, but we're just going to do plastic wrap. How do you prefer to keep your fresh avocados and guacamole from turning colors other than green? Let me know in the comments your little trick. Do you do this? Do you do the oil? Let me know. All right, set that aside for the moment. I'm going to move all this stuff over to the sink. It's already piled up and I don't need that bowl because I smell some deliciousness happening over in the thing. Now what we are going to do is we're going to make some lime crema. No, you know what? I'm not going to make lime crema. No, cilantro, because I ran out of cilantro. Lime crema, you just take fresh cilantro and the juice of the limes, and you put it in with sour cream. And then you mix it all together, and then you just simply squeeze it out. But we're not going to do that. We're going to go a different direction with that. As I forgot, Timmy is not fond of cilantro. And I could live without it. Not a big deal. Okay. So now we got 1 minute left. Let's take a look at our goodies, shall we? Oh no. Oh no. Couple little blowouts, but that's okay. Oh yeah, those are nice. Those are nice and crispy. Crispy, crispy. So now, just a little plate. And we're gonna deck it out. Some beautiful, beautiful food. We ready for this shit show? Okay, let's go. Beep. Okay. So we're gonna need a couple of ramekins. Oops. A couple of ramekins. Not the tiny, tiny ones. So there we have that. Now we're going to take a spatula. Screw it. We'll just use tongs. Now, this is what I love so much about Silpats, is that you can just pick it up and they move easily. So these ones had a little bit of a blowout. See, chefs can make mistakes too. It's okay. There's a reason why I don't polish my content by just bringing out just the picture perfect ones, because I want you guys to see that, you know, I fuck up too. All right. Nobody's perfect, but the food is going to taste bomb diggity. I'll tell you that much. Okay. Now that we've got those, we'll take a spoon. We're going to just dig out some salsa. Okay. Set it right there. And I'm going to need 2 more spoons. I know, Timmy's like, oh God, why does she create so much dirty dishes? So much dirty. I'm a dirty girl. I'm a dirty bird. Yeah, I'm so dirty. All right. Now we're going to just take a spoonful of this. See how nice and green and vibrant that is? It's good. That's what a good guacamole should look like. It should have some structure, you know? I'm going to just plop that down right there. That's 1 quenelle. And we're going to take a little bit of the cotija and sprinkle. And there we have it. All right, let's go in for the money shot on the upstairs camera. All right, there we have it. We got a nice quick and sleazy salsa, a little quenelle of guacamole, and basically you just pick at it and eat it with your empanadas. And this is a beef, bean, and cheese empanada with fire roasted corn and 2 different kinds of cheese. So, Munchie Mafia, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon. Don't forget, cook with love, eat with passion. Have a good night.